You know Rihanna. Of course you do. The woman who taught us that umbrellas could be deeply philosophical. The business mogul who basically said inclusivity isn't a trend, it's just obvious, and then proceeded to revolutionize the beauty industry. The person who made us all feel personally victimized when she didn't drop new music for years because, well, she was too busy becoming a billionaire. But here's the thing, and stay with me here. While we were all obsessing over Fenty Beauty shades and wondering when album 9 would grace our playlists, Rihanna was quietly doing something else. Something that doesn't always make headlines, but probably should. She was changing lives, like actually changing them. Today, we're diving deep into the humanitarian side of Robin Rihanna Fenty, and I promise you, it's going to surprise you in the best way possible. Let's rewind, way back. We're talking 1988, Barbados. A young girl watching television commercials late at night. You know the ones, those heartbreaking charity ads asking for just 25 cents to help children in need. Most kids would watch those and feel sad for about 3 minutes before moving on to Saturday morning cartoons. Not Rihanna. This girl was doing mental math, trying to figure out how many quarters she could save up to, in her words, save all the kids in Africa. Now, pause for a second. She was 5 or 6 years old. Most of us at that age were worried about whether our action figures could actually fly if we threw them hard enough. But here's little Robin, already thinking about global humanitarian crises. Fast forward to 2006. Rihanna is 18 years old, barely legal to vote, can't even rent a car in most places, and she's already launched the Believe Foundation. Its mission? To help terminally ill children by providing medical, emotional, educational, and financial support. 18 years old. While most teenagers at that age are figuring out how to parallel park or deciding which college major will disappoint their parents the least, Rihanna was performing charity concerts and meeting with sick children, signing autographs, taking photos, being present in the most genuine way possible. But this was just the beginning, because in 2012, something shifted. Rihanna founded what would become her most significant philanthropic endeavor, the Clara Foundation, named after her grandparents, Clara and Lionel Brathwaite. And here's where the story gets beautiful. Her grandmother, Clara, had battled cancer. Rihanna watched that struggle up close. She saw what it meant when healthcare resources were limited, when treatment options were few, when hope felt fragile. So she did something about it. The Clara Foundation. Let's talk about the Clara Foundation, or CLF, because this isn't your typical celebrity charity where someone puts their name on a foundation and shows up once a year for a photo op. The foundation operates on 3 core pillars: education, emergency response, and climate resilience. And these aren't just buzzwords thrown around in press releases. This is real, boots-on-the-ground work. First up, education. Rihanna understood something crucial. Education is the ultimate equalizer. So CLF started by creating scholarships for Caribbean students to attend college in the United States, because talent is universal, but opportunity isn't. By 2016, the foundation had committed $5 million to advance quality education worldwide. They partnered with the Global Partnership for Education and Global Citizen, major players in the education advocacy space, to support hundreds of millions of children across dozens of countries. In 2017, Rihanna traveled to Malawi, not for a concert tour, not for a photo shoot. She went to meet with students, educators, and government officials. She walked through schools. She listened to the challenges facing young Malawian girls: poor infrastructure that made simply getting to school dangerous, cultural practices that discouraged education for women, poverty that made choosing between school and survival a daily decision. And here's the kicker. She didn't just show up, take some photos, and leave. She became a global ambassador for the Global Partnership for Education, using her platform to advocate for real policy changes. That same year, Harvard University named her Humanitarian of the Year. Let that sink in. Harvard, the institution that's basically synonymous with academic excellence, looked at everything Rihanna was doing and said, yeah, this is the person we want to honor. When she accepted the award wearing an elegant dress and arriving with that signature confidence, she told the audience something profound. She talked about those commercials from her childhood and said, "You don't have to be rich to be a humanitarian. You don't have to be famous. You don't even have to be college educated." Then she paused, smiled, and added, "I mean, I wish I was. I'm not saying, especially today." The crowd laughed. Of course they did. Here she was at Harvard being honored for humanitarian work, making a joke about not going to college. It was vintage Rihanna, confident, self-aware, and absolutely unbothered. But then she got serious. She challenged everyone there to commit to helping just one person, one organization, one situation that touches your heart, because that's how change actually happens, not through grand gestures alone, but through individual commitments multiplied. Now, let's talk about what CLF has actually accomplished, because the numbers are staggering. As of their latest reports, they've leveraged over $80 million in grants. They've partnered with over 80 active programs across 7 Caribbean countries and 5 U.S. states. They funded the Clara Brathwaite Center for Oncology and Nuclear Medicine in Barbados, a state-of-the-art facility providing cancer treatment where it was desperately needed. They've also invested in Operation Triple Threat, a performing arts program that provides comprehensive training for young people in singing, dancing, and acting, while also supporting their academic education, because Rihanna knows firsthand how arts education can transform lives. When disaster strikes. Here's where Rihanna's humanitarian work gets really impressive, because anyone can write a check for a good cause. It's another thing entirely to be the first person to show up when disaster strikes. Let's talk about natural disasters. In 2017, Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria devastated communities across the Caribbean and southern United States. The combined damage? $380 billion. Thousands of lives lost, entire communities destroyed. CLF was there, immediately, not weeks later when the news cameras had left, immediately. In 2019, Hurricane Dorian, one of the strongest Atlantic storms ever recorded, hammered the Bahamas, Rihanna's home region. The storm killed 61 people and caused $7 billion in damage. Within days, CLF announced a $1 million funding package distributed to organizations providing relief on the ground. But here's what makes Rihanna's approach different. She realized that constantly rebuilding after disasters wasn't sustainable. So in 2018, CLF pivoted to focus on climate resilience, making buildings, infrastructure, and social systems stronger before disasters strike. They partnered with International Planned Parenthood Federation and Engineers Without Borders to make reproductive health clinics in the Caribbean more disaster resistant, because when storms hit, healthcare access becomes even more critical. Then 2020 happened, and you know what that means. When the world was collectively freaking out about toilet paper and sourdough starters during those early pandemic days, Rihanna was mobilizing. In March 2020, CLF donated $5 million to organizations fighting the pandemic. The money went to Direct Relief, Feeding America, Partners with Health, the World Health Organization's Response Fund, and the International Rescue Committee. The funds supported local food banks for at-risk communities, accelerated testing in Haiti and Malawi, provided protective equipment for frontline healthcare workers, and supported vaccine research. But she didn't stop there. When New York became the pandemic epicenter, Rihanna donated personal protective equipment to the state. Governor Andrew Cuomo personally thanked her on Twitter, saying they were deeply appreciative of her help. Then, partnering with Jay-Z's Sean Carter Foundation and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, CLF contributed to an additional $6 million in grants. This money supported some of the most vulnerable populations: undocumented workers, children of frontline healthcare workers, incarcerated individuals, elderly populations, and homeless communities in New York and Los Angeles. Oh, and she donated millions more specifically to help domestic violence victims during lockdown, matching donations to provide over $4 million for this cause alone, because she understood that for many people, staying home wasn't safe. By the end of 2021, CLF had donated over $47 million to address challenges created by the pandemic and racial justice issues. Read that again, $47 million. And here's the thing that really gets me. Rihanna didn't hold press conferences about this. She didn't make it about her brand. She just did the work, quietly, efficiently, effectively. Coming home. November 30th, 2021. Barbados was making history, becoming a republic and officially removing Queen Elizabeth II as head of state after 55 years of independence. It was a massive moment for the island nation, a final breaking away from colonial ties. And in the middle of this historic ceremony, Prime Minister Mia Mottley did something extraordinary. She declared Rihanna the 11th national hero of Barbados. Let me put this in perspective. The last person to receive this honor was legendary cricket player Garfield Sobers over 20 years earlier. Only 10 people had been honored since the award was established in 1998. This isn't something Barbados just hands out. National heroes of Barbados include people who led slave rebellions, the first person of African descent to serve in parliament, and individuals who fundamentally shaped the nation's history. And now, Robin Rihanna Fenty, born less than a mile from where the ceremony took place. Prime Minister Mottley said it perfectly. Rihanna was born of humble origins, catching public transportation to school, but captured the world's imagination through creativity, discipline, and extraordinary commitment to her homeland. When Rihanna stood to receive the honor, she placed her palm over her heart. Her title? The Right Excellent. She became the youngest person ever to receive the designation and only the second living person to hold it alongside Sobers. In her brief acceptance speech, she said, "This is a day that I will never, ever forget. It's also a day that I never saw coming." Can you imagine? You grow up in a place, you make it big internationally, and then your country, your actual country says, you are a hero, officially, forever. A year earlier, they'd renamed the street where she used to live Rihanna Drive. Now she was a national hero. It's the kind of honor that transcends entertainment, business, or philanthropy. It's about embodying the values and spirit of an entire nation. The quiet revolutionary. Here's what strikes me most about Rihanna's humanitarian work. It's authentic in a way that celebrity charity often isn't. She doesn't use her foundation as a tax write-off or a publicity tool. She doesn't announce every donation with a social media campaign. She doesn't pose for photos and then disappear. She actually shows up, does the work, and invests in sustainable solutions. When Forbes named her the world's richest female musician in 2021, a billionaire largely due to Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty, she didn't slow down her philanthropy, she scaled it up. The foundation now works across the Caribbean, East Africa, and the U.S. South, focusing on communities that actually live in these regions. It's not top-down charity, it's community-led solutions that CLF funds and supports. They've invested $100 million. They work with 35 community partners. And here's the remarkable part. 100% of their grantee organizations are community-led. That means the people who know these communities best are the ones making the decisions. CLF focuses on climate solutions, women's economic empowerment, arts and culture, health access and equity, and supporting future generations. These aren't random categories. They're interconnected systems that address root causes rather than just symptoms. Think about it. Climate change disproportionately affects Caribbean nations. Women's economic empowerment creates generational change. Arts and culture preserve identity and provide pathways out of poverty. Health equity determines life outcomes. Education shapes futures. Rihanna isn't just throwing money at problems. She's thinking systemically about how to create lasting change. And she's doing it while running multiple businesses, occasionally dropping music that breaks the internet, raising 2 children, and generally living her life with a level of unapologetic confidence that makes the rest of us wonder if we're using our time wisely. the bigger picture. So why does all of this matter? Why should you care that a pop star is also a serious humanitarian? Because representation matters. Because seeing someone who looks like you, who came from where you came from, making a global impact in multiple ways, that matters. Young girls in Barbados, across the Caribbean, in Africa, everywhere, they see Rihanna and understand that success doesn't have to be one-dimensional. You can be a chart-topping artist and a humanitarian. You can be a beauty mogul and an education advocate. You can build billion-dollar businesses and still remember where you came from. You can achieve massive personal success while genuinely trying to make the world better. Rihanna's grandmother once told her, "If you've got $1, there's plenty to share." That philosophy runs through everything she does. It's not about having everything, it's about sharing what you have. The Foundation's latest annual reports show continued growth and impact, more partnerships, more grants, more communities supported, and it's all done with a level of professionalism and effectiveness that would make any nonprofit jealous. But perhaps most importantly, Rihanna has changed the conversation around celebrity philanthropy. She's proven that you can use your platform for genuine good without it being performative, that you can maintain privacy while making massive public impact, that you can be business savvy and humanitarian-minded simultaneously. She's also reminded us that humanitarian work doesn't require perfection, it requires commitment. You don't need to solve every problem, you need to pick your battles and fight them well. Education and health in the Caribbean and East Africa, emergency response and climate resilience, these are her chosen fights, and she's fighting them with resources, strategy, and genuine care. When Rihanna accepted that Harvard Award back in 2017, she said something that stuck with me. She talked about watching those childhood commercials and thinking you had to be rich to help. She said, "The truth is, you don't have to be rich to be a humanitarian. You don't have to be rich to help somebody. You don't got to be famous. You don't even have to be college educated." She paused and then delivered the most important part. It starts with your neighbor, the person right next to you, the person sitting next to you in class, the kid down the block in your neighborhood. You just do whatever you can to help in any way that you can. That's the lesson here. Not that we should all start foundations or donate millions, but that we should all do something, whatever we can, wherever we are, with whatever resources we have. Rihanna's impact isn't just measured in dollars donated or lives directly touched. It's measured in inspiration, in young people who see her and think, maybe I can do something meaningful too. In communities that see someone successful remembering where they came from. In the normalization of giving back as just what you do. She's proven that you can be glamorous and grounded, wealthy and generous, internationally famous and locally committed, successful and service-oriented. And she's done it all while maintaining that signature Rihanna energy, confident, unbothered, focused on what matters, and not particularly interested in your opinion if you think she should be doing something else with her time or money. The Clara Lionel Foundation continues its work today. They're still funding scholarships, supporting emergency response, building climate resilience, investing in health systems, and empowering communities. The work continues, quietly and effectively, whether or not we're paying attention. But maybe we should pay attention, not because Rihanna needs our attention, she's doing fine without it, but because the causes she champions need attention. Climate change in vulnerable nations, education for girls in developing countries, healthcare access in underserved communities, emergency preparedness in disaster-prone regions. These aren't sexy causes. They don't generate clicks like album releases or fashion campaigns, but they're the causes that change lives, that break cycles of poverty, that give people hope and opportunity and futures they otherwise wouldn't have had. So here's my challenge to you, borrowed directly from Rihanna herself. Help one person, support one organization, commit to one cause that touches your heart. You don't need to be Rihanna to make a difference. You just need to care and then do something about it. Because at the end of the day, that's what a national hero does. Not because they seek the title, but because they can't imagine not trying. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, consider learning more about the Clara Lionel Foundation or finding a cause in your own community that needs support. And remember, you don't have to be rich to be a humanitarian. You just have to give a damn. See you next time.